Hello guys, welcome to our channel. Today we will explain you about history of dinosaurs. Living on Earth, the story begins not in the deep past, but in the quiet hills and windswept cliffs of 19th century Europe. Long before dinosaurs became symbols of power and spectacle, they were whispers in stone, fragments of bone half buried in forgotten quarries, misunderstood relics of a vanished world. In the English countryside, a young woman walks the storm-beaten beaches of Lyme Regis. Her name is Mary Anning, daughter of a poor cabinet maker, destined to carve her legacy not from wood, but from rock. With hammer and chisel, she pries open the cliffs, revealing creatures no human had ever imagined. Ichthyosaurs with vast eyes, plesiosaurs with swan-like necks, entire skeletons preserved in slabs of ancient seabed. To the locals, her finds are curiosities, oddities sold to collectors. But to science, they're the first cracks in the illusion that Earth has always been as it is. Elsewhere, in the Oxfordshire quarries, the Reverend William Buckland studies strange bones unearthed from limestone. He reconstructs a beast of enormous size, with teeth shaped like daggers. In 1824, he gives it a name, Megalosaurus, the Great Lizard. It is the first dinosaur to be formally described. The world, however, does not yet understand what it is. Many believe it to be a monstrous crocodile, others a dragon out of myth. A year later, Gideon Mantell, a country doctor with a passion for fossils, discovers curious teeth in the Sussex clay. They resemble those of an iguana, but are far too large, 10 times larger. He names the creature Iguanodon, a giant reptile that once fed on the forests of the ancient Earth. At first, each discovery seems isolated, a marine reptile here, a giant carnivore there, a colossal herbivore somewhere else. But by 1842, the visionary anatomist Richard Owen sees a pattern. He realizes these are not just reptiles, but something altogether unique, a lost dynasty of creatures unlike anything alive today. To name them, he reaches into Greek, Dinosauria, the terrible lizards. The announcement sends shockwaves through Victorian society. For the first time, humanity confronts the fact that the Earth was once ruled by forms of life so strange, so vast, that they defy comprehension. These were not biblical monsters, nor mythological dragons, but real animals that had lived and died in ages long before humankind. The public imagination ignites. At the Crystal Palace in London, life-size sculptures of Iguanodon and Megalosaurus are erected in 1854, towering over visitors who stroll among them as if walking through time. Families picnic in their shadows. Children stare up at stone beasts that had ruled the earth millions of years before human history began. And yet, for all the awe, there is confusion. Early reconstructions portray dinosaurs as sprawling, sluggish lizard monsters, dragging their tails through swamps, their bodies heavy and ungainly. They are imagined as evolutionary mistakes, creatures doomed to failure. Science, in its infancy, can only guess at the truth hidden in the stone. Still, the discoveries multiply. Across Europe, then in America, fossils erupt from the ground in a frenzy of excavation. Great skeletons emerge. Skulls longer than a man is tall. Femurs so heavy they require carts to move. Fossils no longer whisper, they roar. The 19th century becomes a battlefield of bone. Rival paleontologists Othniel Charles Marsh and Edward Drinker Cope wage the infamous Bone Wars, racing to outdo each other, dynamiting cliffs and shattering fossils in their hunger for glory. From their rivalry come dozens of new species. Triceratops, Stegosaurus, Diplodocus. The names enter science, and the creatures enter myth. To a world still grappling with Darwin's theory of evolution, dinosaurs are proof of Earth's deep past, an ancient order of life that rose, thrived, and vanished long before humans. They are a revelation and a warning. The Earth is not static. Life changes. Extinction is real. Even giants fall. The discovery of dinosaurs shatters the human view of time. No longer is the world a stage. set solely for humanity. It is a theater that has hosted countless players, with acts spanning hundreds of millions of years. Dinosaurs are not just bones and rock. They are proof of the immensity of Earth's history and of our smallness within it. The first chapter of their story does not begin with their birth, nor with their end, but with their rediscovery by human hands, human eyes, and human wonder. From cliffs and quarries, from the dust of forgotten ages, the giants rise again. The fossils are undeniable. Bones the size of beams, teeth like sabers, claws that could tear through flesh and stone. Yet in the mid-19th century, the idea of a vanished empire of giants is almost unthinkable. For centuries, nature had been viewed as fixed, eternal, and unchanging. The world, it was believed, had been created in its present form, unchallenged, unmoved. And yet, here were bones that spoke of creatures utterly alien to the modern world. Creatures that once strode across forests that no longer exist, through climates long forgotten. The revelation is staggering. Earth has not always been as it is today. Entire dynasties of life have risen and fallen before humanity's first breath. But the shock runs deeper still. These fossils are not simply strange. They are colossal. Their scale dwarfs any living beast. A crocodile may stretch a few meters. An elephant may weigh a few tons. But these bones belong to animals that towered above forests, that carried the weight of houses upon their frames. The imagination struggles to comprehend such magnitude. And then comes the most disturbing truth of all. They are gone. Extinct. Vanished. Not a single living dinosaur walks the earth. How could life so vast, so powerful, disappear entirely? What law of nature could erase such creatures while sparing others? The discovery shakes science and faith alike. Extinction, once a whispered possibility, now becomes a brutal reality. To many Victorians, this is terrifying. If such titans could be wiped away, what does that mean for humanity? Are we, too, temporary? In America, the fossil rush ignites a new chapter of astonishment. The bone wars between marsh and cope reveal species stranger still. Animals with plated backs, horns like living fortresses, necks that stretched for meters upon meters. Each skeleton excavated is another blow to old certainties. The sheer diversity of forms astonishes paleontologists. Dinosaurs are not a single kind of beast, but an empire of shapes and strategies. Some stalked as predators with teeth like serrated knives, others gathered in herds, their skulls crowned with horns and frills. Some thundered across plains on four pillar-like legs, their necks arcing toward the sky. Others darted swiftly on two legs, their balance held by long, rigid tails. The deeper science peers, the stranger the creatures become. They're not just oversized reptiles. They are something altogether different. Their bones reveal hips built for upright stance, lungs adapted for efficiency, skeletons both light and strong. They were not clumsy monsters dragging themselves through swamps, as early illustrations had shown. They were dynamic, powerful, alive. This realization is nothing short of a revolution. Dinosaurs defy every assumption about life. They are not failures of creation, nor sluggish giants. They are masterpieces of evolution, adaptable, enduring, dominant for over 160 million years. And yet their absence is a wound. The very fact that such rulers of Earth could fall leaves science with a haunting question. What force destroyed them? The Earth, it seems, holds secrets as violent as they are mysterious. The fossils do not just tell of creatures lost. They tell of rules rewritten. Time is deeper, extinction more ruthless, life more fragile than anyone had dared believe. The age of certainty ends. The age of deep time and deep mystery begins. Bones alone are silent. They do not tell their story freely. They are scattered, broken, pressed beneath rock for tens of millions of years. To understand the vanished empire of the dinosaurs, scientists must become detectives, piecing together fragments of skeletons, reading the cryptic language of stone, imagining worlds no human eye has seen. In the early days, the reconstructions were crude. Fossils, half understood, were assembled into monstrous forms, giant lizards with sprawling limbs, tails dragging in the mud. Dinosaurs were painted as bloated failures, mistakes of evolution that lumbered toward extinction. For decades, the image of sluggish swamp dwellers haunted textbooks and museum halls. But as science advanced, the picture sharpened. Geology provided the first clue. Fossils were not scattered randomly. They were layered in bands of stone, each layer a chapter in Earth's vast book of time. In the cliffs of Dorset, the sandstones of Utah, the Badlands of Alberta, scientists saw not just bones, but history itself, epics stacked one atop the other, recording the rise and fall of entire worlds. The method of stratigraphy revealed when dinosaurs lived, not in a single moment, but across three immense periods: the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous. Together, these eras formed the Mesozoic, the middle life of Earth, spanning over 160 million years. To human eyes, an unimaginable stretch of time. To geology, a single act in a far longer play. Then came another tool, radiometric dating. By measuring the decay of isotopes in volcanic ash and minerals, scientists could put numbers to the ages of rocks. At last, the chronology of the dinosaur world was anchored in time. Megalosaurus had walked 170 million years ago. Triceratops grazed 66 million years ago. Between them stretched an empire longer than the entire history of mammals. Fossils spoke, too, in subtler ways. The shape of joints, the bend of claws, the wear on teeth, all hinted at movement, diet, behavior. Skeletons revealed predators built for speed. Herbivores adapted for defense. Giants evolved for reach and size. Trackways, fossilized footprints, captured moments of life frozen in mud. Herds traveling together, predators in pursuit, even the hesitant steps of young alongside the strides of adults. Slowly, the swamp monsters faded, replaced by a vision more vibrant and alive. Dinosaurs stood upright, balanced, dynamic. Their tails, once thought to drag, stretched behind as counterweights. Their chests expanded with powerful lungs. They were not evolutionary failures, but evolutionary triumphs. Each new find deepened the reconstruction. In Mongolia's deserts, the discovery of entire nests revealed that some dinosaurs cared for their young, brooding eggs like birds. In Canada, fossilized skin impressions showed scales, armor, even patterns of texture. In China, delicate imprints of feathers confirmed what some had long suspected. Dinosaurs were not only reptilian, they were the ancestors of birds. The lost world began to bloom again in the human imagination. Scientists did not just see bones, they envisioned ecosystems. Towering forests of conifers and cycads, rivers meandering through fern-filled valleys, giant sauropods stretching their necks to the canopy, while raptors hunted in packs across the forest floor. The Mesozoic came alive as a tapestry, each fossil a thread, woven into landscapes long erased by time. And yet, there was always uncertainty. Fossils, after all, are incomplete. Skeletons are shattered, crushed, or scattered by rivers and time. A missing bone can change an entire reconstruction. For every creature unearthed, countless more remain hidden, their stories buried. The picture, though vivid, is forever unfinished. Still, the act of reconstruction is not just science, it is resurrection. From fragments of stone, humanity revives an empire of creatures that once thundered across the earth. The work is slow, patient, and endlessly humbling. For in piecing together their world, we come to understand our own. How fragile life is, how vast time stretches, how the earth itself is never still. The dinosaurs, once imagined as monsters, emerge instead as living beings, shaped by evolution, adapted to a world both alien and familiar. Reconstructed, they are no longer curiosities. They are a testament that life, even when erased, leaves echoes. And from those echoes, we build the vision of a world long lost, and yet in stone eternal.
Long before the thunder of dinosaurs shook the earth, the world was already ancient. The stage upon which they would rise was not empty but carved by catastrophe, rebirth, and slow tectonic change. We travel back 250 million years, to the edge of the Triassic period. The Earth has just survived its greatest extinction. At the end of the Permian, a cataclysm swept across the globe. Volcanoes raged in Siberia, choking the air with poison. Oceans turned stagnant and suffocating. More than 90% of all species perished. Forests withered. Coral reefs dissolved. The age of giants that had come before the mammal-like synapsids was broken. In the silence after apocalypse, the earth was scarred and desolate. Yet life persisted as it always does. The survivors were few, but from them, evolution began again. Out of the ruins of the Permian, new ecosystems rose. The continents were still fused together in a single massive landmass. Pangaea, a supercontinent stretching from pole to pole, wrapped in vast deserts and dry interiors. Its edges were rimmed with seas, its heart baked under relentless sun. Rain fell only in seasonal bursts. Plants clung to river valleys and coastal plains. Into this harsh, unpredictable world came the first true archosaurs, the ruling reptiles. Among them were ancestors of crocodiles, pterosaurs, and, eventually, dinosaurs. They were small at first, fragile and swift. Two-legged creatures, no larger than dogs, darted between the shadows of conifers. Their bones were light, their lungs efficient. While others lumbered, they ran. They were not alone. Mammal-like reptiles, synapsids, still roamed, remnants of the Permian rulers. Stocky herbivores with tusks and beaks grazed in the heat. Predatory gorgonopsians and their kin hunted in the twilight of their dynasty. But they were fading. The future belonged to the archosaurs. For millions of years, evolution experimented. Crocodile-like creatures prowled rivers. Pterosaurs leapt into the skies. And in the background, quietly, the lineage that would become dinosaurs adapted to the shifting earth. It was not dominance from the beginning. Dinosaurs were underdogs, small players in ecosystems still unstable from the mass extinction. But they carried traits that gave them an edge. Upright posture, stronger lungs, faster metabolisms. While others stumbled in the extremes of Triassic climates, these traits gave dinosaurs resilience. Slowly, as the Triassic advanced, they spread. At first, scattered across river valleys of what is now Argentina and Brazil, their fossils whisper of beginnings. Small carnivores like Eoraptor and Herosaurus, nimble, sharp-toothed, hunting lizards and small prey. Plant eaters like Plateosaurus, with long necks to browse ferns and cycads. The world they inherited was harsh, but it was also open. With so much life erased, ecological space was vast, waiting to be filled. Evolution, relentless and opportunistic, began shaping the dynasty that would come to dominate. The rise of dinosaurs was not an explosion, but a slow, steady advance. They survived where others failed. They endured where others vanished. Step by step, they built their presence in the Mesozoic world. And beneath their feet, the Earth itself was changing. Pangaea was restless. The supercontinent began to crack, rifts opening that would one day become the Atlantic Ocean. Lava poured from fissures, shaping new landscapes. Climate shifted, ecosystems diversified. The dinosaurs were inheritors of catastrophe. Their dynasty was born from the ashes of the greatest extinction in Earth's history. And perhaps that is why they thrived. Forged in hardship, shaped by scarcity, they carried resilience that would make them the rulers of the planet for the next 160 million years. This was their beginning, not as thunderous giants, but as fragile survivors, small and swift, running through the deserts of Pangaea. In the silence of deep time, the first sparks of a dynasty flickered into being. Soon, those sparks would ignite an empire.
The Triassic was a crucible, a harsh land of deserts and survival. But by the time the Earth turned the page into the Jurassic period, 201 million years ago, the world itself had changed. Pangaea, the supercontinent, was tearing apart. Rifts deepened, oceans seeped in, climate softened. Where once deserts stretched endlessly, lush forests now grew. Swamps spread across valleys, and conifer trees towered into the sky. It was in this new, greener world that the dinosaurs flourished. What began as small, nimble survivors now blossomed into titans. The sauropods emerged, the most colossal creatures ever to walk the earth. With necks like living bridges, they rose above forests, reaching leaves untouched by any other animal. Their bodies stretched more than 30 meters from nose to tail, their weight rivaling that of entire herds of elephants. Diplodocus, Brachiosaurus, Apatosaurus, their very names became synonymous with size. They moved in herds across plains, slow rivers of flesh and bone, feeding and moving, reshaping entire landscapes with their passage. To sustain their enormity, sauropods evolved marvels of biology. Hollow bones lightened their frames. Bird-like lungs allowed air to flow in one direction, far more efficient than the lungs of mammals. Their hearts, massive engines, pumped blood through necks that stretched higher than houses. They were giants perfectly engineered for gigantism. But titans do not rise without challengers. Where herbivores grew vast, predators evolved into weapons of speed and power. The Jurassic gave rise to the great hunters. Allosaurus, lean and deadly, its jaws lined with serrated teeth. Ceratosaurus, with a horned face and knife-like bite. They stalked herds, culling the weak and young. The predator-prey arms race drove evolution higher, stronger, faster. Yet the Jurassic world was more than a battlefield of giants. It was diverse, alive with forms both strange and subtle. Stegosaurs, with plates rising like sails along their spines, browsed low vegetation, their spiked tails ready to strike. Tiny, swift theropods darted between shadows, hunting insects and lizards. Early birds, creatures like Archaeopteryx, spread feathered wings, gliding from branch to branch. For the first time in Earth's history, land, sky, and water teemed with such enormous diversity. Dinosaurs no longer clung to survival. They reigned. They filled every niche, herbivores of all sizes, predators from wolf-like to house-sized, creatures of air and land locked into an ecosystem that pulsed with balance and tension. The Jurassic was also a time of movement. The continents, still drifting, shaped migration routes and climates. Herds of sauropods may have crossed continents, following seasonal rains. Predators followed, their survival tied to the great herds. Ecosystems stretched across thousands of kilometers, vast interconnected webs of life. To stand in the Jurassic would have been to witness a world that dwarfed the human imagination. Plains shook under the tread of sauropods. Forests echoed with the calls of strange, feathered creatures. Predators stalked the edges, shadows in a land of giants. And yet, for all their power, the age of titans was not eternal. The earth is never still. Volcanoes rumbled. Seas rose and fell. New continents formed from the fractures of Pangaea. Each change pressed upon the dinosaurs, shaping them further, demanding adaptation. But for tens of millions of years, they endured. The Jurassic remains their triumphal era, the age when they ceased to be mere survivors, when they took the throne of the earth and held it with an iron grasp. In the age of titans, dinosaurs became more than creatures. They became empires in flesh, living testaments to evolution's boundless creativity.
The Age of Titans was not only a world of giants who grazed upon the endless forests. It was also a world of killers. For every creature that reached upward toward the canopy, there were others whose lives depended on bringing them down. Dinosaurs were not merely vast. They were locked in a struggle of predator and prey, hunter and hunted. Across the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous, this struggle shaped their bodies, their senses, and their strategies. Out of it arose some of the most formidable predators the Earth has ever known. The rise of the hunters. In the early Triassic, the first carnivorous dinosaurs were small. Herrerasaurus, no larger than a modern-day wolf, darted through river valleys. Agile, lightly built, it hunted reptiles, amphibians, and small creatures that scuttled beneath the ferns. Its claws were quick, its teeth sharp, its speed deadly. These early predators carried the seeds of what was to come. Unlike the sprawling lizards of their time, they stood upright, balanced on hind legs with tails stretched behind them like counterweights. They could run, pivot, leap. Evolution had gifted them efficiency. And in a world of competition, efficiency meant survival. As millions of years unfolded, predators grew larger, more specialized. By the Jurassic period, hunters like Dilophosaurus and Allosaurus had risen, with skulls lined with serrated teeth, claws built for slashing, and legs made for pursuit. They dominated their ecosystems. These were not clumsy brutes. Their skeletons reveal adaptations for balance, speed, and agility. Their teeth, curved and ridged, worked like knives, slicing through flesh. Their arms, though smaller than their prey, bore talons sharp enough to grip and tear. And their brains, though not vast, show signs of heightened senses, keen sight, powerful smell, acute hearing. The Jurassic killers. Among them, Allosaurus reigned as one of the great hunters of the Jurassic. Reaching over 9 meters in length, it was swift, muscular, and relentless. Its skull, lighter than that of later predators like Tyrannosaurus, allowed quick, repeated strikes. Some paleontologists believe Allosaurus attacked like a hatchet, slashing with jaws that opened extraordinarily wide, powered not just by bite, but by the force of its neck muscles. It hunted the giants. Fossils show bite marks on sauropod bones, evidence of attacks on creatures 10 times its size. Stepping into a Jurassic Valley would have been to witness a world in constant tension. Herds of Diplodocus grazed, tails whipping like whips across the air. In the shadows, Allosaurus waited. Every move of the herd was measured against the danger lurking just beyond the tree line. The balance of survival was delicate. Each kill fed the predator. Each escape allowed the prey to endure. The evolution of predatory perfection. But even Allosaurus was only a chapter in the story. As the Jurassic gave way to the Cretaceous period, evolution began crafting predators of staggering design. The seas and skies changed. The continents drifted farther apart. Climates diversified. Dinosaurs, too, split into lineages that adapted to every niche. Among them were predators that grew larger, faster, and more intelligent. Then there were the raptors, smaller, feathered hunters that fought with speed and cunning. Velociraptor, no larger than a turkey, carried a curved sickle claw on each foot, capable of slicing with surgical precision. Evidence from fossils in Mongolia shows raptors locked in combat with their prey, claws embedded in the flesh of struggling victims. The reign of tyrants. Yet of all predators, one stands above the rest, Tyrannosaurus rex. Emerging in the late Cretaceous, it was the culmination of 160 million years of evolution. At over 12 meters long and weighing nearly 10 tons, T-Rex was an apex predator in every sense. Its skull was a fortress of bone, its jaws the most powerful of any land animal known, capable of crushing through the armor of its prey. The age of dinosaurs did not belong only to the land. While colossal predators ruled the forests and plains, other titans rose to claim the realms above and below. Evolution, ever inventive, extended its reach into the skies and oceans, creating creatures that seem to stretch the very definition of life. The Earth of the Mesozoic was not simply a kingdom of dinosaurs. It was a theater where flying reptiles ruled the air and marine reptiles reigned beneath the waves. Each became a master of its domain. as extraordinary as any tyrannosaur or sauropod. The lords of the sky, long before birds, the first vertebrates to conquer the air, were the pterosaurs. Emerging in the late Triassic, they were fragile-boned, winged reptiles whose evolution rewrote the boundaries of possibility. Their wings were not like those of bats or birds. Instead, a single elongated finger stretched a thin membrane of skin across their sides, creating sails capable of lifting them into the wind. They ranged from the size of sparrows to giants with wingspans larger than a small aircraft. The smallest, like Nemicalopterus, darted between trees, snapping insects mid-air. The largest, Quetzalcoatlus northropi, soared across late Cretaceous skies, with wingspans approaching 12 meters, larger than any known flying creature in history. Its shadow could have covered a two-story house. These giants did not simply glide, they mastered the physics of flight. Hollow bones made them light, while powerful muscles at their shoulders generated lift. Some species skimmed oceans like modern albatrosses. Others stalked shorelines like storks, jabbing at fish with long, toothy jaws. Pterosaurs were the inventors of aerial ecosystems, predators, scavengers, and foragers of the sky. And for over 150 million years, they filled the heavens with beating wings. Birds, the feathered descendants. But evolution did not stop at membranes. Among the small feathered dinosaurs of the Jurassic, another kind of flight was taking shape. Feathers, first evolved for warmth or display, began to serve a new purpose: catching air. In the fossil beds of Solmofen, Germany, one extraordinary discovery bridged two worlds. Archaeopteryx, with teeth in its beak, claws on its wings, and a long reptilian tail, it was part dinosaur, part bird. Its feathers, perfectly preserved, reveal an animal capable of gliding, perhaps even flapping in bursts of powered flight. From such beginnings, birds took wing. By the end of the Cretaceous, small avian dinosaurs filled forests and lakesides, competing with pterosaurs for food and space. The skies were no longer the dominion of a single lineage, but a battleground of innovation. Membranes against feathers, reptilian wings against avian plumage. The monarchs of the deep. While the skies filled with wings, the oceans swelled with monsters. Dinosaurs themselves never became aquatic, but other reptilian lineages evolved into titans of the seas. The ichthyosaurs were among the earliest, sleek, dolphin-like predators that appeared soon after the Triassic began. With streamlined bodies and enormous eyes, they were built for speed and sight in the dim light of the deep. Fossils reveal some carrying unborn young within them, proof that these reptiles, like whales today, gave live birth in the water. Then came the plesiosaurs, long-necked hunters whose bodies resembled flippers joined to a barrel-shaped torso. Some stretched their necks into serpentine lengths, weaving through schools of fish. Others, short-necked pliosaurs, became apex predators, their jaws massive enough to crush turtles and rival crocodiles. And in the later seas of the Cretaceous, the mosasaurs rose. These serpentine giants, relatives of monitor lizards, grew up to 15 meters long. With double-hinged jaws and teeth angled backward, they swallowed prey whole, from fish to marine reptiles. Some scientists call them the T-Rex of the ocean. Apex predators that dominated until the very end of the age. The age of dinosaurs was not simply an era of colossal bodies and primal hunts. It was an age of landscapes sculpted by their presence, of ecosystems transformed by their weight, their hunger, their endless movements. They were not only inhabitants of their world, they were its architects, For over 160 million years, dinosaurs shaped the surface of the Earth in ways both subtle and grand. Forests grew and fell beneath their tread. Rivers shifted under the migrations of herds, and entire environments bent around the needs of creatures too vast to be ignored. To understand their world is not merely to list the creatures that lived within it. It is to step into a living system, one defined by balance, conflict, and renewal. An ancient planet alive with the pulse of giants. The architects of forests. Among the most powerful shapers of this world were the sauropods, with necks that reached into the canopies and bodies that consumed hundreds of kilograms of plants each day. They were the engines of change. Every step of a brachiosaurus left a mark. Trees bent beneath its feeding, ferns crushed under its weight, herds of Diplodocus stretching across valleys, consumed entire swathes of vegetation before moving on, leaving behind open clearings where sunlight pierced to the forest floor. In their wake, ecosystems reshuffled. New plants sprouted in the light, small creatures scurried into fresh growth, and forests reorganized around the appetites of giants. Just as elephants today shape African savannas, sauropods engineered their world, turning dense forests into mosaics of open plains and regrowth. Their dung carried seeds across great distances, fertilizing the soil. In this way, sauropods were not only consumers, they were gardeners of deep time, dispersing life wherever they roamed. The pulse of the plains, where the forests opened, herds of herbivorous dinosaurs filled the plains. Hadrosaurs, the duck-billed grazers of the Cretaceous, gathered in numbers that rivaled modern wildebeest. Fossil trackways show them moving together, young in the middle, adults guarding the edges. They grazed like living rivers, stripping plants down to the roots, then flowing onward. Behind them, predators followed. Tyrannosaurs stalked the fringes of these herds, testing the weak, waiting for mistakes. In this endless rhythm, the grasslands of today had their ancient precursor, plains kept alive by the constant dance of herbivore and carnivore. The hadrosaur's passage ensured no single plant grew unchecked. Their constant feeding maintained diversity, much as bison shape North American prairies. In life and death, they nourished the soil, kept cycles of energy flowing, and sustained the ecosystems around them. Predators as balancers. If herbivores were the engineers of abundance, predators were the guardians of balance. Allosaurus, Spinosaurus, Tyrannosaurus. These hunters thinned herds, prevented overpopulation, and pushed prey toward adaptation. Their presence changed behavior. Herds moved differently when danger lurked nearby. Young grew faster, instincts sharper, senses keener, all responses honed by the pressure of predators. Even in death, predators served the system. Scavengers gathered at carcasses. Small dinosaurs, mammals, insects, and birds feasted on the remains. Bones broke down, nourishing soil. A single kill radiated life into dozens of other species. Predators, often painted as villains, were in truth the unseen engineers of survival. They were not destroyers, but sculptors, chiseling the edges of life's form, ensuring that the system did not collapse beneath the weight of unchecked growth. The hidden world beneath, yet the story of dinosaurs is not only one of giants. Beneath their feet lived worlds just as complex. Mammals, though small, burrowed into soils, darted through undergrowth, scavenged scraps, and spread seeds. Insects thrived in abundance, pollinating the first flowering plants of the Cretaceous. For more than 160 million years, dinosaurs thrived. They endured shifting continents, rising mountains, changing seas. They survived volcanic upheavals, climate swings, and the relentless testing of evolution. They were not fragile kings. They were the most resilient lineage Earth had ever seen. In the late Cretaceous, 66 million years ago, the Earth was a planet alive with abundance. North America's coastal plains were filled with vast herds of Triceratops and Edmontosaurus. Forests rang with the cries of small raptors, while the skies carried both birds and the last of the great pterosaurs. In the seas, mosasaurs and ammonites hunted in the blue depths. The balance of predator and prey continued as it had for millions of years. Tyrannosaurus stalked the plains. Herds migrated with the seasons. Flowering plants carpeted the land. Life was flourishing, complex, deeply interconnected. High above, in the darkness of space, a rock had been traveling for millions of years. An asteroid, more than 10 kilometers wide, hurtled toward Earth at cosmic speed. Its destiny lay in the shallow seas off the coast of what is now Mexico, near the Yucatan Peninsula. Small mammals, burrowing deep, endured the cold. Crocodiles, with their ability to survive long periods without food, lived on. Turtles, fish, and certain birds, descendants of feathered dinosaurs, carried the lineage forward. It was not strength that saved them, nor size. It was adaptability, smallness, flexibility in diet and behavior. In the collapse of giants, the meek endured. And in their endurance lay the seeds of a new age. The end and the beginning. The extinction of the dinosaurs was not merely an end. It was also a beginning. The mammals that had hidden in shadows now expanded into the spaces left behind. Within millions of years, they grew larger, diversified, and gave rise to primates, and eventually, to us. The death of the dinosaurs opened the path for the rise of humanity. Without their extinction, we might never have walked the earth. This truth carries a strange, humbling weight. Our very existence is bound to their absence. The fall of giants gave way to our story. The philosophy of extinction. Extinction is the law as old as life itself. More than 99% of all species that have ever lived are gone. The dinosaurs were not exceptions. They were participants in this law. And yet, their extinction feels different. They were Earth's dominant life for so long, their presence woven into every ecosystem. Their vanishing was not just loss, it was transformation, a reshaping of life's trajectory. We are left to wonder, what would the world be if they had endured? Would mammals remain small, confined to shadows? Would no intelligence beyond instinct have risen? Would Earth still belong to reptiles? Sky darkened with pterosaurs? Seas filled with mosasaurs? Plains echoing with the steps of sauropods? Echoes of the lost, though they are gone, dinosaurs are not erased. Their bones remain, buried in stone, whispers from a vanished age. Their descendants remain too. Every bird, from sparrows to eagles, is a living dinosaur, carrying forward the legacy of flight. The Earth still holds their echoes. The cliffs of the Yucatan still bear the scar of impact. The line of clay still tells the story of the night the world ended. And within us, perhaps, there is an echo as well. For without their extinction, there would be no us. We are, in a way, children of their catastrophe. In the seas, a mosasaur circles sluggishly, the water murky, the prey gone. In the skies, the last great Quetzalcoatlus struggles against winds filled with ash. The world grows silent. The giants who once ruled Earth vanish one by one. But their story does not end in silence. It continues in the bones that rise from stone, in the feathers of birds, in the wonder of human imagination. Their extinction was not erasure, it was transformation.
Echoes in the present. The dinosaurs are gone. Their thunderous steps no longer shake the earth. Their roars no longer echo across plains or jungles. Their age ended in fire and darkness, swallowed by the silence of extinction. And yet, their presence has never truly left us. They remain in stone, in feather, in bone, in memory. Their echoes shape our understanding of life, of survival, of fragility. They are gone, and yet they endure, in the rocks beneath our feet, in the wings of birds above us, and in the very story of our own existence. The fossil record, time written in stone. Across deserts, cliffs, and riverbeds, paleontologists uncover fragments of a vanished age. Each fossil is a message from deep time, preserved by chance and revealed by patience. The skeleton of a Tyrannosaurus, its jaw frozen in eternal roar. The delicate impression of a feathered raptor, caught forever in the stone of ancient mud. The footprints of a sauropod, stretching like a road across hardened sediment. These are not just relics of death. They are memories of life, moments captured, whispers from creatures that lived, breathed, hunted, and nurtured their young. The fossil record is not complete. Most creatures vanish without a trace, their stories lost to time. But what remains gives us a map, a narrative of an age when giants ruled. It reminds us that Earth was not always as it is today, that life has transformed, collapsed, and risen again through cycles of creation and destruction. Birds, the living dinosaurs. The sparrow perched on a branch, the eagle soaring high above mountains, the penguin diving through icy seas. Each bird is a living dinosaur, a descendant of the feathered raptors that once darted through Cretaceous forests. The link is undeniable. Bones in the wing mirror those of theropods. Feathers, first of all for warmth or display, became instruments of flight. Even the way some birds nest and brood their eggs mirrors behaviors preserved in fossilized oviraptors. The dinosaurs did not wholly vanish. They transformed. They became smaller, lighter, quicker. They survived the darkness by taking to the skies. And today, they outnumber mammals and reptiles combined, filling every corner of the planet. When we hear birdsong at dawn, we are hearing the distant voices of dinosaurs. When we watch a hawk descend with talons outstretched, we are seeing the same predatory grace that once belonged to Velociraptor. Dinosaurs in human imagination. Long before science uncovered their bones, humanity was haunted by visions of giants. Legends of dragons, serpents, and monsters may well have been born from fossil discoveries in ancient lands. When the first dinosaur bones were recognized in the 19th century, they rewrote our sense of history. No longer was Earth a static stage. It was a world of deep time, of lost ages, of vanished empires of life. Dinosaurs stretched our imagination beyond the human story, reminding us that the planet's past was stranger, wilder, and older than we had ever dreamed. Today, they live again in art, in film, in literature. They stride across cinema screens, roar in museums, and fill the minds of children who dream of ancient beasts. Dinosaurs are not just scientific subjects, they are cultural icons, symbols of power, mystery, and fragility. They remind us that life is both mighty and impermanent, that even the greatest rulers of Earth can fall. The science they inspire. The study of dinosaurs is not only about the past, it reshapes the future. In their fall, we see our own vulnerability. And in their survival as birds, we see the resilience of life, the fragility of dominance. Dinosaurs ruled Earth for 160 million years. Humanity has existed for less than a million. To them, our entire history would be less than a flicker. And yet, they are gone and we remain. This truth is sobering. It reminds us that dominance is never permanent. We too live under the laws of nature, under the threat of extinction, whether by asteroid, climate, or our own making. For generations, dinosaurs were imagined as gray and green giants, their skin painted in dull tones like crocodiles and lizards of today. In textbooks and films, They strayed across the prehistoric Earth as shadowed silhouettes, powerful but colorless, stripped of the vibrancy that fills the living world. But the Earth has never been a place of monotone. Forests shimmer in countless shades of green, skies burn in gold and crimson, and creatures paint themselves in colors for survival, for beauty, for dominance. Could it be that the rulers of Earth's most dramatic age lived in drab disguise? Or had science simply not yet uncovered their hidden palette? The answer, as it turns out, was waiting in stone, fossils as time capsules. For decades, paleontologists believed fossils preserved only the hard architecture of life, bones, teeth, the occasional outline of skin. The rest, especially delicate features like color, seemed lost forever to time. But in recent years, a revolution has come. Under powerful microscopes, scientists began to discover tiny organic structures locked inside fossilized feathers and skin. These were not mere stains or mineral traces. They were melanosomes, microscopic pigment-bearing organelles, the same structures that give color to modern bird feathers and reptile scales. Like forgotten paint jars, these melanosomes held the secrets of dinosaur colors, preserved across millions of years. Their shapes and densities could be compared to those in living birds. Long and sausage-shaped melanosomes meant black. Rounder ones suggested reddish browns. Certain arrangements revealed iridescence. For the first time, paleontology had found a way to resurrect not only the shape of dinosaurs, but their hues. The first colorful dinosaurs. In 2010, a small dinosaur called Sinosauropteryx revealed its true colors. Fossils found in China preserved its delicate, hair-like feathers. Analysis showed alternating bands of ginger and white along its tail, a striped pattern, vivid as a fox. For the first time, a dinosaur was not a shadow. It was a creature with a fiery tail, its body painted by nature in tones of survival. Soon after, another Chinese fossil, Anchiornis, astonished scientists. Its feathers revealed a complex pattern, a body cloaked in gray, wings tipped in white, and a striking red crest upon its head. Suddenly, this small raptor was not a lifeless skeleton. It was an animal that might have strutted, displayed, and signaled, much like a modern bird. And then came Microraptor, a four-winged dinosaur that glided through Cretaceous forests. Its melanosomes revealed iridescent black feathers, shimmering like a raven in sunlight. Here was proof that some dinosaurs were not only colored, but dazzling. A world painted in color. These revelations shattered old images. Dinosaurs were not uniform beasts. They were kaleidoscopes of color, their bodies canvases shaped by evolution's brush. Some may have worn camouflage, their patterns blending with ferns and forests, hiding them from sharp-eyed predators. Others likely displayed brilliant crests, stripes, or shimmering feathers to attract mates, just as bodes do today. Perhaps the great herds of hadrosaurs carried subtle tones across their bodies, with males and females differently adorned. The Cretaceous plains may not have been filled with drab giants, but with vibrant displays, creatures gleaming in colors we are only beginning to rediscover. The purposes of color. In life, color is never mere decoration. It serves purpose, strategy, survival. For dinosaurs, it was likely no different. Camouflage. Smaller feathered dinosaurs, like Sinosauropteryx, used stripes and muted tones to disappear among the foliage. Their very survival depended on blending in. Display, the red crest of Anchiornis or the iridescence of Microraptor likely signaled strength or health to potential mates. Just as peacocks flaunt their feathers, dinosaurs may have dazzled each other with colors unseen by predators. For centuries, dinosaurs were imagined as silent titans, their bones mute beneath layers of stone. Artists and filmmakers filled the silence with invention. Roars like lions, bellows like elephants, screams like tortured machines. But the truth is far stranger, more mysterious, and perhaps more haunting. Dinosaurs were not voiceless. They lived in a world alive with sound. a world of low rumbles, piercing cries, subtle calls, and perhaps even songs. To understand them, we must listen not to the silence of fossils, but to the echoes hidden in their bones. The fossil clues of sound. Unlike bones, sound does not fossilize, but evidence of voices can be found in the architecture of skulls, airways, and cavities. Some dinosaurs, like the hadrosaurs, possessed enormous crests connected to their nasal passages. These hollow structures acted like natural resonating chambers, amplifying air blown through them into deep, haunting calls. Fossils of Parasaurolophus show a crest longer than its skull, curling backward like a horn. Scientists reconstructed the airflow and discovered that its calls may have sounded like the mournful tones of a great wind instrument, low and resonant, carrying across miles of Cretaceous plains. Other dinosaurs had simpler resonating systems. Openings in the skulls of theropods suggest air sacs similar to those of modern birds, capable of producing a wide range of vocalizations, from grunts and hisses to complex calls. The structure of their throats hints that many did not roar like mammals, but may have produced sounds closer to birds and crocodiles, their living relatives. Roars, rumbles, and songs. To imagine the soundscape of dinosaurs, we must look to the creatures that still carry their legacy. Birds, the descendants of theropods, fill the world with song. Crocodiles, their ancient cousins, produce deep rumbles and hisses that vibrate through air and water. Perhaps the great predators like Tyrannosaurus rex did not roar at all, but instead produced infrasound, low-frequency rumbles below the range of human hearing, felt more than heard. Like elephants, these sounds could have traveled vast distances, a silent language carrying through forests and plains. Rex may have announced its presence with a vibration in the earth, terrifying prey before it was even seen. And the hadrosaurs, those duck-billed giants, may have created entire symphonies of sound with their crests. Different species carry differently shaped chambers, each tuned to unique frequencies. Herds of hadrosaurs could have produced choruses of calls, resonant as an orchestra of wind instruments. Communication in a lost world sound was survival. It was warning, attraction, and recognition. A ceratopsian herd, traveling across plains, may have used low bellows to keep contact with one another, much like elephants do today. Parents may have called to hatchlings with distinctive cries, answered by squeaks and peeps from the nest. Predators may have used sound to establish territory, their rumbles carrying warnings to rivals. Sound shaped their world as much as size or strength. The prehistoric soundscape. Close your eyes and imagine the Mesozoic not only in sight, but in sound. The rustling of cycads and ferns in the wind. The buzz of ancient insects. The croak of amphibians near riverbanks. Overhead, the leathery wings of pterosaurs beat against the air. And then, deeper, stranger sounds. The booming call of a hadrosaur crest, echoing through valleys. The rumbling vibration of a tyrannosaur's infrasound, felt in the chest before it is heard. It was not a silent world. It was a symphony, alien, resonant, and haunting. The silence of fossils. What we reconstruct is speculation, guided by evidence, but filled with imagination. Perhaps some of their sounds would have startled us, with their familiarity, birdsong like whistles, croaking calls. Perhaps others would have been utterly alien, vibrations and harmonics beyond our range of recognition. The silence of fossils is both a frustration and a wonder.
For over 160 million years, dinosaurs were the dominant life forms of Earth. They were not static figures frozen in time. They were survivors of shifting climates, fluctuating seas, volcanic fire, and cosmic changes. Their reign stretched across the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous periods, an epoch where the Earth itself was in flux. The fiery beginning, the Triassic world into which the first dinosaurs emerged, was harsh and volatile. It was an Earth of deserts, with scorching temperatures and little rainfall. Pangaea, the great supercontinent, stretched unbroken from pole to pole. With such vast interior lands, Much of the world was dry and seasonal, with extreme heat in the summers and bitter cold in the winters. Then came the volcanic breath of the Earth. Around 200 million years ago, massive volcanic eruptions tore through the crust as Pangaea began to split apart. This was the Central Atlantic Magmatic Province, one of the largest volcanic events in Earth's history. It poured out oceans of lava and released staggering amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. The climate swung violently. Greenhouse gases trapped heat, warming the globe and destabilizing ecosystems. Many dominant reptilian lineages perished in this chaos. But dinosaurs survived. Not only survived, they expanded, filling the empty niches left behind. Climate was not their enemy. It was the crucible in which they were forged, the lush age of giants. It was in this greenhouse world that the giants arose. Sauropods, the largest animals ever to walk the earth, spread across continents. Their massive size was not only a triumph of biology, but a reflection of abundance. In a world of warm, stable climates and endless vegetation, their bodies became landscapes unto themselves. Vast engines of digestion fueled by Earth's greenery. In this lush climate, dinosaurs flourished in diversity. Predators grew immense. Prey herds spanned entire plains, and the Earth rang with life. The Cretaceous transformation. But climate is never still. The Cretaceous period saw new changes. Seas rising and falling. Forests evolving, flowering plants emerging. Dinosaurs adapted again. Feathers spread among theropods, not only for display, but for insulation against chill. Herding behaviors became more sophisticated, offering protection against predators and environmental stress. Some species expanded across polar regions, enduring long winters of darkness by slowing their metabolisms, perhaps echoing strategies of modern penguins or reindeer. Climate did not shape dinosaurs once. It shaped them again and again, sculpting their evolution with every shift. The fragile balance cooling in some regions, acidifying oceans, and shifting weather patterns may have weakened dinosaur populations. When the Chicxulub impactor struck 66 million years ago, the climate shock it unleashed, global fires, blocked sunlight, a sudden winter, was the final blow. Dinosaurs, once masters of shifting climates, you're undone not by change itself, but by the speed and scale of catastrophe. The climate that had nurtured them for millions of years had turned in an instant, leaving only the small, feathered survivors who would become the birds of today. Lessons for the present. The story of dinosaurs and climate is not only a tale of the past, it is a mirror for the present. Dinosaurs remind us that life is resilient. They endured volcanic winters, greenhouse summers, rising seas, and shifting continents. For 160 million years, they adapted, transformed, and thrived. But they also remind us of fragility. Climate change can be a slow sculptor of life, or a sudden executioner. When the balance tips too quickly, even the mightiest fall. Dinosaurs teach us both humility and urgency. Their story shows that life can endure almost anything, except sudden, unchecked collapse. Philosophical reflection. The climate is not a backdrop. It is the stage upon which all life plays. Dinosaurs knew this truth in their bones. Their reign was written in heat and rain, in deserts and forests, in fire and ice. A future of dinosaurs in science. The bones of dinosaurs lie silent beneath stone, their age counted in millions of years. Their reign ended in fire and shadow, their voices lost, their movements stilled. And yet, in laboratories and research halls, a bold question echoes. Could dinosaurs live again? What was once the realm of myth and cinema, creatures resurrected from extinction, has begun to creep into the language of science. With the rise of genetic engineering, cloning, and CRISPR, humanity has gained tools that whisper of possibility. The idea of reviving traits of the past, of sculpting life from its ancient echoes, no longer feels like fantasy alone. The future of dinosaurs in science is not only about bones and fossils. It is about imagination, responsibility, and the ethics of power. The genetics of deep-time DNA is the blueprint of life. To bring dinosaurs back, we would need their DNA. But here lies the first barrier. DNA does not last forever. Under ideal conditions, fragments may persist for hundreds of thousands of years, perhaps a little longer, but never for the tens of millions that separate us from the Cretaceous. No true dinosaur DNA has ever been recovered. The dream of extracting genetic material from amber, as popularized by fiction, is a beautiful story, but not a scientific reality. Fossils may preserve proteins, pigments, and microscopic structures, but their genetic code is gone. And yet, hope lingers in another form: their descendants. Birds, the living lineage of theropod dinosaurs, carry within them echoes of their ancestors. Their genomes are maps, not only of what they are, but of what they once were. The Chickenosaurus project, one of the boldest experiments in modern science, is the attempt to reverse engineer birds to reveal their dinosaur heritage. By altering the genes of chickens, scientists have triggered the growth of traits long thought lost: snouts instead of beaks, clawed hands instead of wings, even tails in embryonic stages. This Chickenosaurus project is not an attempt to create a perfect replica of a velociraptor or a tyrannosaurus. It is an exploration of deep evolutionary memory. The genes of dinosaurs are not gone. They are rewritten, reshaped, hidden within the birds that walk among us today. By unlocking these genetic switches, we peer backward through time. What emerges is not a true dinosaur, but a creature that reminds us of how close they still are and how thin the veil of extinction can be. De-extinction and ethics. Beyond dinosaurs, de-extinction has already entered the realm of the possible. Projects aim to revive the woolly mammoth by editing elephant DNA. Frogs, pigeons, and other recently vanished creatures are being considered for return. But should we? The question is not only of possibility, but of purpose. Dinosaurs lived in ecosystems that no longer exist, climates that have long since changed. To place them in our modern world would be to bring them into alien lands where they would struggle and perhaps suffer. There are ethical shadows, too. To bring back ancient life for curiosity or spectacle risks turning the profound into the trivial. The responsibility of science is not only to know what can be done, but to ask whether it should be done. And yet, there is wonder in the idea. To stand before a creature lost for 66 million years would be to collapse time itself. The technology of tomorrow. If true dinosaurs cannot be recreated, science may still resurrect fragments of their being. Advanced computing allows us to simulate entire genomes. Artificial intelligence can model lost proteins and reconstruct metabolic pathways. 3D printing can replicate the biomechanics of wings, jaws, and limbs. Perhaps one day, we will not bring dinosaurs back as flesh and blood, but as living holograms, digital reconstructions so detailed they move with authentic grace, or as bioengineered hybrids, creatures that are not dinosaurs, but inspired by them, living testaments to both evolution and human creativity.
Dinosaurs may be gone from our planet, but the idea of them lingers far beyond stone and fossil. They live not only in bones, but in possibility. For life, shaped by evolution, is not bound to Earth alone. Across the galaxy, in the light of other suns, on worlds of strange seas and alien skies, could creatures like dinosaurs walk again? The question is not idle fantasy. It arises from science itself, from the logic of biology, the laws of evolution. and the universality of survival. If life has emerged elsewhere in the cosmos, then the great drama of evolution may have played out in countless variations. The logic of evolution. Life is an artist, but it paints with recurring strokes. On Earth, wings have evolved at least 4 times, among insects, pterosaurs, birds, and bats. Eyes have appeared independently in mollusks, arthropods, and vertebrates. The same shapes emerge again and again, sculpted by the pressures of survival. This is called convergent evolution. When faced with similar challenges, life often arrives at similar solutions. Streamlined bodies for swimming, long limbs for running, wings for flight. If evolution is a universal process, then perhaps the dinosaur form, powerful limbs, balanced tails, keen senses, could appear again elsewhere. Not identical, but resonant. Not copies, but echoes. The shapes of dinosaurs may not belong only to Earth. They may be written into the mathematics of life itself. Worlds of possibility. Astronomy has revealed that planets are common, billions scattered across the galaxy, many orbiting in the habitable zones of their stars. Some are ocean worlds, some frozen deserts, some shrouded in thick atmospheres. Imagine a super Earth, larger than our own, with stronger gravity. Life there might grow shorter, stockier, built low to the ground. Dinosaur-like creatures might be squat but powerful, their bones dense, their muscles thick. On planets bathed in dim red light from ancient stars, life might evolve with colors unseen to us, reflecting heat instead of light. Their scales or feathers glowing with infrared patterns. Dinosaurs of alien skies might not be green or gray, but luminous in spectrums beyond our eyes. Intelligence of the reptilian kind. On another planet, spared an asteroid, might such beings exist? Reptilian intelligences with cultures, languages, and histories spanning eons. Speculation whispers of alien civilizations built not by mammals, but by creatures resembling the raptors of Earth. Creatures whose minds grew sharp in a world where they were never extinguished. In this reflection, dinosaurs are not only echoes of the past, but potential visions of the future. Somewhere in the galaxy, thinking, dreaming, remembering their own prehistoric dawns. The cosmic fragility of life. But even among the stars, the story of dinosaurs carries its shadow. Extinction is not unique to Earth. Asteroids, supernova, and cosmic radiation threaten life everywhere. Worlds that nurture giants may also erase them in an instant. The universe is vast, but it is also merciless. Dinosaurs beyond Earth would face the same precarious balance, forever at the mercy of cosmic chance. Dinosaurs in human imagination of the cosmos. In science fiction, reptilian aliens stride across countless worlds. They are predators and conquerors, survivors of harsh environments, symbolic of both fear and awe. They are, perhaps, our projection of what intelligence might look like if not human, if it came from claws and scales instead of fur and hands. In imagining them, we are not only reaching outward into space, we are looking inward into Earth's own past. Philosophical reflection. If creatures like dinosaurs walk beneath alien suns, then the universe is not a cold void, but a tapestry where familiar forms are woven again and again. It would mean that Earth's story is not unique, but part of a cosmic pattern. And if they do not, if no such beings exist, then dinosaurs are even more precious. A singular expression of evolution. A once-in-eternity chapter in the history of life. The The story of dinosaurs is not only the story of creatures long vanished. It is the story of life itself, its resilience, its fragility, its endless capacity for transformation. For though the last great dinosaurs fell 66 million years ago, their essence did not vanish. It endures in birds, in fossils, in memory, and in the eternal rhythm of life. Dinosaurs remind us of a truth written into the bones of the earth. Nothing lasts forever, and yet nothing is ever truly lost. Life does not end, it changes. Extinction is not silence, but transition. The eternity of life is not measured in individual species, but in the unbroken flow of existence, carrying forward from age to age. The bones as memory fossils are not mere stones. They are memories solidified, whispers of time given shape. Every vertebra, every tooth, every claw is a fragment of a story billions of years long. When we look upon the skeleton of a Tyrannosaurus or a Triceratops, we are not gazing at death. We are gazing at survival, the miracle that matter once alive can persist across eons to speak again. The eternity of life is written in these remnants. The bones are silent, yet they thunder with meaning. They tell us that time is vast, that change is constant, and that we too are part of this endless procession. The line unbroken. Extinction is never absolute. The lineage of dinosaurs continues in every bird that takes flight, in every sparrow on a city street, in every eagle soaring above mountains. The same bones that held aloft pterosaurs hold aloft gulls today. The same genetic codes that painted feathers on raptors paint the plumage of hummingbirds. The dinosaurs are with us, not as ghosts, but as neighbors, as companions, as living reminders that life adapts, endures, and transcends. And beyond birds, their story lives in us. Mammals rose in the shadow of dinosaurs, shaped by their dominance and their downfall. Without their extinction, humanity may never have come to be. We are part of their legacy, born from the silence they left behind. The eternity of life is not about the survival of individuals, but of patterns. Dinosaurs are patterns that still ripple through the present. Time as teacher. Dinosaurs teach us that time is not a straight path, but a cycle of creation and destruction. They remind us that greatness is fleeting, that even the most powerful can fall, and that survival belongs not to strength, but to adaptability. Their reign lasted longer than the entire history of humanity, by a factor of hundreds. And yet, it ended in an instant. This is the paradox of time. Long ages and sudden moments. Stability and chaos. Abundance and extinction. What happened to dinosaurs is not unique. It is the story of all life. It is our story, too, waiting in the pages of the future. The mirror of humanity. When we look at dinosaurs, we do not only look into the past. We look into a mirror. Like them, we have become the dominant species of our world. Like them, we live in a time of abundance, reshaping the earth to our needs. But dominance is fragile. Climate, catastrophe, or our own actions could one day undo us, just as surely as an asteroid undid them. The eternity of life assures us that life will go on, but it does not assure us that we will go on. Dinosaurs show us that no species is eternal, no reign unending. The question is not whether life will endure, but whether humanity will endure with it. The philosophy of extinction. Extinction is often spoken of as tragedy, and it is, but it is also a necessary rhythm of the earth. Without endings, there are no beginnings. Without the fall of dinosaurs, there would be no rise of mammals, no dawn of humanity. In this way, extinction is not only loss, it is transformation. It is the Earth's way of clearing the canvas, of allowing new forms to emerge. The eternity of life is built on this paradox. Every death feeds new life. Every ending carries within it the seed of beginning. Dinosaurs teach us that the universe does not cling to the past. It moves forward, always forward.